Alright guys, I'm going to take a minute and show you how I rig my spoons here for jigging. A lot of these spoons we also cast, actually all of these spoons we also cast, and we might rig them slightly different, you know, if we're jigging or casting. But right away, everyone wants to know about the Ben Parker spoon. Okay, this is the 8-inch size. This is probably the most used size here, the 8. They have it in a 9, a 5, and a 4. Ben Parker sizes are the 9 and the 8. Now, Ben Parker designed this. He's a bass pro for largemouth bass, and he designed this to use on southern lakes where there are a lot of very big gizzard shad. Now, a lot of these lakes also have herring too. They don't get quite as big, but you can see the shape is a little more like a herring than a gizzard shad. For you guys up north or in saltwater aren't familiar with gizzard shad, they get very wide, almost like a body, like a crappie or like a brim, like a sunfish, and they don't get very long and slender like a herring. But he designed this thing for largemouth bass tournaments. And the first year he had it, he gave it to a bunch of his buddies, and something like the top 12 winners that year, 11 of them were using his spoon. And I believe it. It's an extremely effective bait. Some of my videos you're going to see guys who have no idea how to jig a spoon. Some guys have never used an artificial in their life, only live and cut bait. And they were catching as many fish with the spoon, sometimes more, because they were letting the spoon go more slack. They weren't really trying to feel the bite because they didn't really know what to feel for anyway. They were just doing this and catching tons and tons of fish. So it's a really great bait. It's a great bait for, you know, pros all the way down to absolute newbies. So if you haven't tried these, you really need to try them. I'm just going to give you a couple tips on how to rig them. That's really going to increase the effectiveness. And the problem with a long bait, going all the way back to the Zara spooks and, you know, the really big stick baits and the pencil poppers guys used to use years and years ago, the cedar poppers and stuff, it's a long bait. And because it's so long, when you're fighting a fish, the fish can use this as a tool, as a lever to pop the hook free. So it's kind of hard to describe, but if the fish has the hook and he's swimming away from you and this lure comes across his back, you can see how my wrist here is now a fulcrum. You see that? How it can pop the hook up like that, and that's where the hook is going to pop up. It'll just pop up and pop right off. And there's several different ways you can get that leverage. You can get it from underneath, on the top. So adding a swivel, you can see I added a ball bearing swivel. You don't have to use a ball bearing, but I found a great deal on Amazon for these, and it is a little more I guess you could say streamlined than a barrel, you know, with two split rings. So I'll show you, that's how I do it here, and I'm going to put the link for all this stuff if you want to go ahead and order it on Amazon. Some of them I might not have links, but I'll find some comparable stuff for you to put in there. So what I used to do is use this regular barrel swivel, and you can see you have to add split rings when you do that. So when you use your regular split ring that comes with the spoon, it's a good strong ring, you have to add a barrel swivel and another ring. So I have found that even if you go with this very heavy ball bearing swivel, it comes with split rings built in. So you don't have to add any rings. Everything you have is in one little package there. And you can see it's slightly shorter, or I'd say it's about the same size, and it's way, way heavier. So if you go with a smaller one that's about the same weight, you can see it's quite a bit shorter. Okay, so, you know, it's just a little less length there. And you could even go lighter than this. This is an 80-pound here, and the larger one's 125, which is way more than you need. But the price was about the same for the ball bearing swivels as it was for the regular barrels with you buying split rings. So I'll put the link in for there. You can see it looks nice, right? Looks nice and streamlined. And put them so the part that spins is on the bottom. This way when you lift it up, water drains out of the swivel. It probably doesn't make a difference, but you know, you got a 50-50 shot. Might as well do it so when you lift it, the water drains out. When you have it on your hook, on your when you have it on your guide, on your rod, and you're transporting it, any water will run out of that thing. Alright, I'm going to show you what they look like when you take them out of the package. This is the 8-inch here. And this one, some of them come with a little bit of that flashaboo on there, and some of them would come with just a standard treble hook. The ones with the standard treble hook is more of a saltwater hook. If you use the ones here with the flashaboo, you can see This hook is several years old, and even though I've cleaned it and sharpened it, you can still see how rusty it gets. So if you're going to use these in saltwater, I would get the ones that have the coated treble hook. It's a little heavier too, and has that corrosion resistance. But you can see right out of the package, this one I've already changed, but you can see right out of the package it's just a split ring. And you know, when the fish bites, you will lose fish right at the boat. You may hook fish and get them close to the boat. You may have them on the whole time and then you're losing fish at the boat. The reason you'll lose more at the boat is your angles become more sharp as you get closer to the boat, as your line gets shorter, and you lose your stretch. And you know, if the fish is going to throw the hook, that's usually where it is. So that's what the 8-inch looks like out of the package. Now this one here is the 5-inch. You can see here, I'll pop this out of the package for you as well. And you can see it's the same deal. There is no barrel swivel. And of course I'm hooking the paper. So we need to put that barrel swivel there. You can see what it looks like when I add a barrel swivel. This is again the ball bearing, and it adds a little length here where I like it. I like to get this a little further away. You can see how short that is right there. A little bit of length there I kind of like. Alright, a trick with the smaller sizes. This is the 5-inch, and this is, I think this is 3.5. I don't know if you can tell here, but you see how thick that is. With the smaller sizes, I take the rings off and I will epoxy 2 together to double the weight. It's very hard to add weight to a spoon, a flutter spoon, and get it to flutter properly. It's not, you know, a spoon like this. They call these butterfly jigs or slow pitch jigs. There's a few different names for them, where it's a, you know, piece of lead. This really needs to flutter, and if you just add weight to this, it will just kill the action of the spoon. It has to flutter. The longer that flutter comes down, the more effective it is, versus just a spiral straight to the bottom, or, you know, torpedo straight to the bottom. So you don't want to add weight. The best way to increase the weight is to sandwich 2 together. If you guys know of a better trick, please share it with me in the comments. And if you have any questions, put them in the comments as well. But what I do is, it's super simple to do. I know it doubles the cost, but you know, such is life when you're trying to catch more fish, right? So you pop the rings off, and what I do is just clean the inside really well. I hit it with a Dremel, just real quick, not a long time. If you have a wire brush, you can hit it just to kind of put a profile onto it, add a little coarseness, some for that epoxy to grab. And I used some cheap 5-minute epoxy and just sandwiched it on there. And now I just doubled the weight of my spoons. Some guys do it with the bigger spoons. This is an old trick. I didn't invent this. This trick's been around for a long time. But the larger spoons are heavy enough. I haven't seen any instance where I needed more weight personally. Some guys, you know, fishing very deep, if you're in current, maybe you need to add it, but I haven't seen a situation where I needed to. But for the small ones, absolutely. Especially if you're getting used to the big spoon, you go to the little one, you'll have a hard time feeling that spoon. So that's a great little trick there to add weight. All right, moving on to the larger spoons. These are also Ben Parker. This is the 9-inch spoon. I haven't seen any that come with the Flashaboo. All these seem to come with the stainless hooks here, or I'm sorry, the coated hooks for saltwater, corrosion resistant. And you'll see I added a few assist hooks on these. I don't add them to the 8-inch very often, but I add them to the 9 sometimes, and I'll add them up here to the top. Now you can, if you don't like this idea here, if you don't like to use treble hooks, you can forego this whole thing, take it off, and add assist hooks. Now because assist hooks have this bit of spectra here, you can get rid of the swivel altogether. You don't need it. This flexing motion here will keep the fish from using this as a lever to pry the hooks loose. So that's why a lot of the guys you'll see catching giant tuna and stuff at the rails with a stand-up gear jigging, they'll use these assist hooks here because of that. You know, treble hook, there's no way they're going to catch those big 100 and 150 pound tuna. A long fight with a blade this long, it's going to pop the hooks out. I'm sure there's some guys that do it, you know, but the majority of the guys would use an assist hook, something like this. And it's good too if you want to add it to the top. You'll also see them add it to the top because it also eliminates the lever altogether because you're fighting straight to these hooks, right? So if you are jigging up and down, these assist hooks have a tail on them. They're actually meant for adding to the bottom here where it adds a little bit of flash. But I added them to here too. These are the regular style assist hooks here. But I added them to here too, and they seem to work just fine. I wouldn't worry about this here. Now if you're going to cast this a lot, if you're going to cast and retrieve it, and this is a deadly bait when you cast and retrieve, don't think you just have to jig it. you don't need these. In fact, these will hang up on the line sometimes when you cast. Believe it or not, jigging up and down, they almost never get hung up on the line. You think they would, but they really don't. Almost never, which is surprising, but they almost never do. Now, casting it, these will fly in the wind all over the place, and this bucktail probably make it worse. And they will get hung up on the line sometimes, and you don't need the assist when you're retrieving. Because when you're retrieving and pulling it through the water, it's never really slack. So when the fish hits, even if he hits here, it's going to slide and hook them most of the time, or they're going to come up behind and grab it. So the assist hook doesn't really help you too much anyway. So if you're going to cast it, I get rid of the assist hook and just use the treble hooks anyway. If you're going to jig it with a larger spoon, or even a smaller spoon with somebody who's new to jigging, you know, even in the 8-inch, if you want to add an assist hook here, probably not a bad idea, at least till they get used to the spoon and feel it. And if you find out they're hooking a lot of fish and doing well, or if you're getting double hookups or something like that, you can go ahead and pop them off. And the way I attach this is, you can buy these assist hooks. I'll find some on Amazon and put a link for you there. But they go to a ring usually when you buy them, and then this solid ring goes to your split ring, just so it can swing freely. And when they're rigged properly, they should aim away from each other. I know it's kind of hard to tell here, but when you pull the spectra straight, they should hang like that. And I know it doesn't seem like it's important, but believe it or not, it will kind of find that position naturally a lot of the time. All right, this spoon here is probably a couple months old, and you can see how beat up it is down here. This one's not terrible. I'll still use this one, but if it gets much worse, I'll go ahead and put one of these skins on here. You see these skins? It's just a heat shrink skin that goes over it. You can see how it just kind of adds a color to this spoon. If you're in salt water where you're catching toothy critters like bluefish or, you know, tuna, whatever, anything with a lot of teeth, they'll tear this to pieces. But striped bass, you get quite a few uses out of this before the stripers tear it up, even the bigger ones, because you know, once they bite it and get hooked, they're down here pretty much most of the fight, so they last pretty long. Unfortunately, if you get a name brand with these, they're a little expensive. Someone sent me a bunch of these, and they were really, really cheap. If I could find a cheap one where they're like 99 cents each or something, I'll put a link in there. But the Skins brand was pretty expensive. It was so expensive that it's almost, you might as well just buy another spoon, to be honest with you. But it's kind of a cool way to add life to an old spoon. They make ones that actually make the bait look like it's a shad with the black spot on the side and everything. I hope this video helps you guys out. Please subscribe if you haven't. It really does help me out a lot. Give a thumbs up. I really do appreciate you guys. Love you. Mean it.